Hey guys, welcome to the Hillbilly Wrap-up. Hillbilly Wrap-up, where from the Ozarks, I take a look at the news in the past week, and I hope you guys are all having a good Friday. This is a long weekend for most people, Memorial Day weekend. Traditionally, this is a kickoff of summer. Technically, summer's June 21st, but it's close enough. It's a kickoff of summer, and it kind of books in with Labor Day, which is a traditional end of summer. Now, this has been a very unusual year, at least here in Arkansas. It's been a very cool. It's climate change. They used to do global warming, but on cold years they can't do that. So it's climate change, and it's been very cold here. In fact, it's cool outside now. We're supposed to get some rain later this evening, but hey, I'm down with that because when the summer comes here, it gets hot and humid. I don't really care for that. Fall and spring are definitely the most pretty seasons. So, anyway, whatever you guys have planned this weekend, thank you for being here. If you're new to the show, welcome. I do the show every Friday night. I kind of look at the news of the week, and I appreciate your guys to interact with the show. I rely on your donations or tips, right? No tax on tips. So if you want to leave a tip, there's Powerchat below here. I appreciate that. And YouTube has SuperChats, Rumble has Rants, and Streamelements has the tip feature. And always, typically, my schedule now is I have a show on Friday. Thursdays, usually, not this week. Sasha had a conflict. Sasha and I do a Thursday show called Daylight Dispatch. And then Wednesday, I guess I'm going back in the week. And Wednesdays, I do the Wednesday wrap-up with Z-Man. And it was great this last episode. I hope you guys caught it. It's still on YouTube and on Rumble and X. We talked about generations and, generational politics. This is always a big thing. Boomer! It seems like in our sphere, the three big ones are, that group, I won't say, and then it's the WQ, the woman question. They're the problems. And then it's a boomer. So those are the big three. So we've actually talked about two of the subjects now. We talked about women and men, and now we've talked about generations. And this coming Wednesday, we're going to talk about COVID, looking back on it. I think we could do it on YouTube. I think I'm gonna try to do it on YouTube. YouTube, that's one of the things we'll talk about. That was their heaviest censorship ever, was the whole COVID nonsense. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Part of that we found out later via documents from like Elon Musk when it came to Twitter. Once he inherited the company, it turns out the government was encouraging people to be censored. So they were going to YouTube and Twitter and saying, we don't like what this doctor said, or we don't like what Ramsey is saying about this. It interferes with our narrative. So it's a scandal, obviously, because we have the First Amendment, but that's the way it is. So Wednesday's going to be a lit show. It's going to be hot. You guys want to check out that show. I'm already looking forward to it. It's going to be crazy. Hopefully we'll do okay. If it gets a little spicy, I'll have to take down the episode on YouTube. But I'm hoping I'm going to see how to navigate it. Z-Man's he's a sharp guy, and he understands how to navigate things too. So I think we should be okay. Famous last words, but I hope we will. So check that out on Wednesday. And on Tuesdays, we have our roundtable. We had a great roundtable session. That's with my Substack. And every day, every week on Substack, we have a roundtable Tuesday nights. And every Friday, I do a Substack exclusive video just for my Substack members. I encourage people to join. It's in the description below. Today, I talked about Scott Adams and life and death. And it's kind of philosophical video I did today. I liked it. I think it was pretty good. So check it out. I do that every Friday. And then I do my videos on most days. Thank you all. And sometimes on Mondays and Tuesdays, I will have a bonus show. And I think I'm going to continue that. So most streamers, they have goals. I've always been hesitant to do that, but I'm like, yeah, I guess that's the thing people do. So if I get a lot of people, I like the goal is $500. Mine's like $50. If I get $50 on this stream tonight, I will do a bonus show on Monday, the Ramsey Paul show. So we'll see what happens. And I hope you guys all have a great weekend. We got a lot of stuff planned this weekend, celebrating Sasha's birthday. She's already had her birthday, but we're having people over. Having a good friend I haven't seen for a while. He's going to be joining us. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him again. So it should be a lot of fun. All right. Let me just see if I got everything going good here. And all right, let's just get into the news, what's been happening. I guess one of the big things that's been up is this whole assassination by some left-wing activist who shouted "Free Palestine," and he killed 2 Israelis, Jewish people, at, I guess, the embassy. And whenever they have one of these shootings, there's always a big rush to figure out, okay, what's this guy's politics and all that, so we know who to blame. Because it's kind of interesting. The whole Israel thing has turned people both on the right and the left. It's not as clear anymore. About the only people that support Israel for the most part are older boomers and on the Republican Party. The younger people in the conservative movement, they're not, it's a big spectrum there, but I would say the more moderate position, nothing against Jewish people or Israel, but we shouldn't put Israel first. And it's problematic that we have so many of our congressmen and senators are controlled by a foreign power. I'm in the state of Arkansas. I think there's fewer than 6,000 Jews here in the whole state, but our entire government is focused on them and their ethnic homeland of Israel. Sarah Huckabee, our governor, was bragging that she's going to send a lot of our money to invest in Israel, which is like, Sarah, why not use that money to invest in America? But no, and that's how she is. And Tom Cotton, one of our senators, you wouldn't know it. You would think he's the senator from Israel, and he gets a lot of money. He's controlled by a foreign country. There's a lot of corruption that needs to change in our country of government employees or officials that are controlled by various interests. And that's definitely the case with Tom Cotton. And so a lot of the people on the right are really opposed to that, especially the younger people. And then you have the element that just doesn't like that group, period. So, and then the left, again, they see the Jewish people in Israel as being white and oppressing the brown Palestinians. And at least on the Democrats, a lot of the people, they're pro-Palestinian and so forth, because they see what Israel's doing as a form of ethnic cleansing, which it is. I don't know how else can you say it, which, maybe in some circumstances that's okay. But they object to that, at least when it comes to brown people. So the left has got really ginned up on this because I think they're used to being able to protest and destroy things more without a severe penalty. With BLM, Antifa, they were able to engage in arson and everything else. And there's insurrection, and there was, this a little slap on the wrist. But if we on the right, if we do anything, if we look at someone wrong, that's a hate crime charge or something. If we're literally driving and you skid your tires on some homosexual flag on the walkway they paint, that's a hate crime. So 20 years of prison for you. Whereas the left's used to burning down on Wendy's and no penalty. So I think the left is more willing to do violence than the right because they've been conditioned that there's really no penalty there. There's no penalty. So I think the left is more likely to act out. And that looked to be the case here. The suspect, Elias Rodriguez, probably shouldn't have been in the country in the first place, but he's a left-wing activist, and he was employed as a research as a history makers, a group that received at least 1 million from the Ford Foundation. Ford Foundation is kind of ironic because the original Ford was pretty aware of some situations. We see this a lot. The left will capture what used to be a pretty based right-wing organization like Disney. Disney used to be wholesome, and Walt Disney, he understood quite a few things. And the original Ford, he understood. He wrote a book about the international who. But they take over that and they turn it into a shit lib. Like Disney's now all about transgender, homosexuals, replacing white people. And Ford Foundation is a radical left-wing organization, and they were funding the group that this guy belonged to. So, and there he is. He's got the glasses and the whole thing. So, this is one of the things that there's been an interesting setup on how this works, and I really hate this. But invariably, groups like the ADL, which I consider a hate organization, they will jump on this and saying, see, we can't allow people to express their opinions being opposed to Israel, and they're slaughtering the people in Gaza. We can't allow people to object to that. Otherwise, if people object to that and call it a genocide, it encourages people like Rodriguez to act out. So what we got to do is we got to censor the media more, at least social media, and we can't allow any criticism of our ethno-state. That's kind of their logic and how they want to go about censoring. And again, the ADL and SPLC, they partnered, unfortunately, with a lot of tech companies, so they've had a lot of influence in pushing their views and political censorship. Now, it's never the other way around. Right. Because you could turn this around and you could say, well, like all the deaths of the white South Africans, you could say that is being caused in part by the ADL and SPLC demonizing white people with their notions of white privilege and white supremacy and all that toxic whiteness, that ideas that they've been pushing out in schools and media have created an environment where whites now, not only in South Africa, but in the world, are targets, much more so than the other way around. So you can make an argument, if you're going to be consistent, then, well, they should be banned because they're contributing hate speech that causes attacks against whites. Of course, they wouldn't look at it that way. The real answer, this is ridiculous. You're only responsible for yourself. And what you say, even if it's inflammatory, if you have a country that values free speech, you allow it. Now, if someone says, well, I was influenced by that person and I did all these crimes, well, that's on that person. It's not on the person talking. But groups like the ADL, SPLC, they have a different theory, at least when it comes to something they object to. So, for example, I mean, you could say it's the old double standard. The ADL, they don't think white people have a right to their own homelands, but they think they have a right to their homeland. And if you shouldn't even be allowed to object to them having their homeland, and they have a right to slaughter anyone they want. And if you object to it, you should go to jail. That is their position. But they don't do it the other way around. They are free to attack us, and no, they shouldn't be censored. So we have to make clear really what's going on there. And sadly, some idiots on the right, and again, mostly it's the boomers. I'm sorry, I just like to pick on that. The older Republicans, we can't tolerate all this anti-Israel speech, that type of thing. So see, the ADL's right. We got to censor people. So ideally, unfortunately, that's where that has come. And again, if I make $50 tonight, I'll do a bonus show on Monday. And I am on SuperChats and on YouTube, Rants on Rumble, Powerchats, and Streamelements. And I typically now read all the chats at the end. I think it flows better. And if I should miss one, some of them come in a little late or whatever, I will definitely get it the next time I do the show. Like when I did my Wednesday show with Z-Man, we split the super chats. Rich Mountain, he gave $50. And thank you, Rich. And I'm going to thank you again next Wednesday, but it came in a little bit late. All right. Let's see here. And this is something Z-Man and I'm pretty sure are going to talk about next Wednesday. We really need a reflection of what happened during the whole COVID thing. It almost seemed unreal. Sometimes I felt I was almost alone. It was like mass hysteria. I don't know how else to put it. People became totalitarian. You could see how people could be like political commissars. Busybody women were running around thinking they're saving the world. Just insanity. That stuff that didn't even make sense. And if you disagreed, you're evil, you deserve to die, you should be deplatformed and censored, you shouldn't be able to make a living, make a job. It's just crazy times. I mean, we can just go all over this. But it's coming out now that the Biden administration labeled opponents of COVID mandates as domestic violent extremists, according to new release documents. And I know Joe Biden has cancer, and screw him. I don't really care. I really don't. This is an evil man, a man that people that legitimately they had issues, whatever you think about the vaccine, the idea it should be forced on people. Oh, we didn't force it on you. You didn't have to take it, but of course, then you lose your job and you starve to death. that was their little cute way they try to do things. Those bastards. And screw them, burn in hell. People had that attitude, but that was their way. So the Biden regime, and again, Biden was partially senile, but still, he's responsible. They decided to classify anyone that had legitimate questions. And a lot of people, even that were pro the vaccine, were like, well, we shouldn't force it on anyone. That came out of the Nuremberg trials. This should be up to the person. I mean, should be up to you and the doctor what you think is best. That was always my position. If you want to take it, it's up to you, but don't force it on me. And if you threaten I can't go places or people can't have their jobs, then you're forcing it, right? Don't play the game. That's like putting a gun to someone's head, say, give me your wallet, and then you say your defense, well, I didn't force him. Yeah, I would have blew his brains out, but I didn't force him. See, it's just ridiculous. And again, we need some time to really discuss what these people did and have some accountability so this will never happen again. I know a lot of people want to forget this whole episode, but we can't allow that to happen. And here's, let's see here, Tulsi is talking about it. So let's take a look what she had to say about this. Here we go.
Done here, what was done under the Biden administration. Was it they were saying that everyone who opposed, say, mask mandates or the vaccination of children are domestic violent extremists? Or were they saying that those are opinions often held by domestic violent extremists?
Yeah, well, that's a very good question. That when you look at the language of these documents that I've declassified, first, the strategic implementation plan of the Biden administration's designation of potential violent domestic extremists.
Well, who are these violent domestic extremists? It's really interesting how they're able to use that language. And when I go in the cities, it's not a bunch of white guys that are causing the terror in the cities. It's not. And if you look at the crime data, that's not what it is. And so exactly who are the people I saw that, we shouldn't force mask mandates. We shouldn't force vax mandates. I didn't see those people going around killing people. Did I miss that? I didn't see that whatsoever. I just saw them a lot of times. There were doctors that actually understood the field. They were talking very sober. They were just explaining their opinion based on the nature of COVID and RNA and how this whole thing works. And they were shouted down. And now we have this idea that if you oppose people forcibly getting the vax, and yes, if you threaten them with job loss, you're forcing them. I mean, I don't know how else can you say it, that, oh, you're a domestic terrorist. Or well, maybe you're not a domestic terrorist, but you have the qualities of a domestic terrorist. Obviously, this is outrageous language, but this is what the Biden administration did.
It really talks about people who may likely turn out to be domestic violent extremists or
fine, then I could say anyone that uses the term white privilege or denies the white genocide in South Africa, we should label them as likely domestic terrorists. Let's do that. Not all of them, but they're likely domestic terrorists if they oppose that. Would they like that? Or how about people that believe this climate change myth? Maybe we should classify them as likely domestic terrorists. Or people that support abortion, we should classify them as likely domestic terrorists. Or people that support DEI, we should classify them as likely domestic terrorists. Would you guys on the left like that? Would you like that classification? That's what the Biden administration did to people. Just had questions about it. Said, I don't think this should be forced on people.
Those who may likely turn to violence because of these specific quote unquote ideologies that they hold. And there's a consistent thread through here that
this is funny. Ideology. What's the ideology of? It should be the individual's decision what you put in your body. Really? Is that some radical ideology? It's just so crazy. The same people that thought that women should be able to kill a baby that's inside them. That's not even their body. The baby is a different body. It could have a different blood type, has different DNA. It's a separate entity, but because it's a woman's body, she has a right to kill it. But, oh no, a woman doesn't have a right to refuse a vaccine. And don't play the games. Oh, well, she can refuse it, but she could starve to death. Fuck you, if that's your attitude. But that's the game they were playing.
These ideologies that they are designating as turning into potentially violent activities or being manifested in violent activities happen to be those of people who were using their First Amendment rights to oppose certain policies of the Biden administration. And while some of the examples that are focused on there have to do with those who opposed the COVID vaccine mandates, those who opposed the mask mandates, parents who were concerned that their children going to school may be forcibly vaccinated with the COVID vaccine without the consent or awareness of parents. The list goes on, but it's not exclusive to this.
And the Biden regime did this. Well, this is how close we are to totalitarianism. Because you remember the Biden regime set the FBI and put you on a watch list if parents, they oppose critical race theory. Remember CRT? That is where children were taught that white people are evil. We have to eliminate white people. And when parents went to the school board and objected to that, according to the Biden administration, we have to put those parents on a watch list. They're a potential domestic terrorist.
In some of these reports that we've declassified, it shows that people who were opposed to Biden's border policy, for example, could therefore have propensities to join a militia or could become these domestic violent extremists that we're talking about here. And again, it's important to look at this in the totality and the sequence of how this happened. These documents were issued in December of 2021. You remember very well, Will,
Well, we should use the same logic on them. Like that Rodriguez assassinated the two Jews at the Israeli embassy. He got money from the Ford Foundation. Therefore, anyone that receives money from the Ford Foundation needs to be considered by the FBI a potential domestic terrorist. How about that? Or anyone that receives money from Soros is a potential domestic terrorist. How about that?
The speech, the ominous speech that President Biden gave in 2022
that was our patience is wearing thin, and it's going to be a cold, dark winter of death to those who didn't take the vax. Yeah, Biden, look who's still alive and look who's about to die. So, yeah, the same. So I will never forget that speech. So when everyone, oh, poor Biden, he's got cancer, boo-hoo. I don't care, right? If I had to pick someone to get cancer, he deserves it more than anyone. The stuff he did like that, his totalitarian impulses, people just trying to express their First Amendment rights, say, hey, I disagree that you should force people to take this. Oh, well, you do? Well, it sounds like you're a potential domestic terrorist. Crazy shit that went down.
Where with this red background and Marines standing in the background, he issued an address to the nation warning the American people that Donald J. Trump and MAGA Republicans pose a direct threat to the fabric of our republic. And then you put that together with how the FBI and others within the Biden administration directed social media companies to censor Americans.
Those people that did that should be fired, but not only should they be fired, that's illegal because we have the First Amendment. They should be arrested and they should go to prison and they should have to pay damages. Anyone that did that. We need to get names, and that's something we haven't done. And you can't do us just following orders. No, you can't censor Americans. So I want to know who traced the emails that sent the emails to that woman that used to run YouTube, Susan Wojcicki or whatever. She's dead now, but whoever was sending these emails to YouTube telling people we want them censored. This guy's talking about we shouldn't have to be force of acts. We can't tolerate that. That's a potential domestic terrorist, and they sent it to Twitter too. We need to get the names of these people, and they should have to pay. They should have to pay damages to people.
And undermine our First Amendment rights because, of course, the social media companies don't want to be in a position to support the spread of domestic violent extremism. So when you look at all of these things together, you understand at its core the thing that I committed to the American people to root out, which is the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community and national security state against the American people.
You know, Director, it's a little bit like that analogy or the test that I had to take when I took the law school entrance exam.
So I like Tulsi. She seems very level-headed to me, and I think that was what she said there makes a lot of sense. I could even support her as I'm not a big fan of women in politics, but Tulsi's pretty good. So if she ran, I would definitely vote for her over a Democrat. I think she sounds pretty good there, what she said there. All right. So let's see here. What else are we going to talk about? Oh, the economy. That's always a big issue, the economy. I don't know if you guys have crypto, man. It was way up yesterday and now it's down again. Crypto's always a roller coaster, and it's kind of based on whatever Donald Trump, whatever he posts on True Social. So it either goes up or down. So let's see what Donald Trump about his tariffs. This is hilarious. So the European Union, which was formed for the primary purpose of taking advantage of the United States on trade. I love Trump. You could tell he does his own. This is True Social, but he writes his own because he has this random capitalization that he does. Has been very difficult to deal with. And also I like it. He ends a sentence in a preposition. Why not? Why not? End the sentence in a preposition. Most people that have gone to school now won't understand what a preposition is because they don't study that. They study anal sex or something. They're powerful trade barriers, VAT taxes, ridiculous corporate penalties, non-monetary trade barriers, monetary manipulations, blah, blah, blah. And so he's tired of this. Our discussions with them are going nowhere. Therefore, I'm recommending a straight 50% tariff on the European Union starting June 1st. That's like a week away, right? Is that a week away? I don't think it's that far. me take a look here. What is today? It's the 23rd. Yeah, it's just a little over a week away. So 50%. That's pretty harsh. There is no tariff if the product is built or manufactured in the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He always says that now. I don't know why he does that. But Trump does that now. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Well, you're welcome, Trump. You're welcome. You got my attention, and thank you. I guess he's acting like CEO, so that kind of spooked the markets a little bit. And we've talked about tariffs. I'm not quite sure what Trump wants to do about tariffs. He goes back and forth on it. Is this a negotiating ploy, or is he serious about keeping tariffs so we get jobs here in the United States? If I had to guess, I do think he really believes in tariffs. He talks about McKinley a lot, and McKinley had a lot of tariffs. That's how we funded the United States before we had an income tax. We didn't have an income tax. So how was the government funded? Federal government. Well, number one, there wasn't much of a federal government back then, right? There wasn't Medicaid, care, Social Security. The Army was small. There wasn't much of a government. So it didn't require a lot to fund it. But but what government there was, federal government, how was it funded? Through tariffs. And so I think Trump really likes that, plus getting jobs back in the United States. I get it. And I think there's some merit to that. But Trump also cares about the stock market. And anytime he raises tariffs is bad for the stock market. So he's kind of trapped, and he goes back and forth without, one day tariffs are on, next day they're off. So we have 50% tariffs on June 1st on Europe. It probably won't stay, right? Remember, like all the tariffs on Liberation Day on April 2nd, most of those went away. They went down to 10%. And then China, that, like 1,000,000,000% or whatever. And now it's gone back a little bit. So I don't know. We'll have to see what he's doing. I think that the 50% tariff on Europe probably won't last. And guys, thank you. I already got a couple of questions. I'll get to them at the end of the show. If we make $50, show on Monday. All right. Some other stuff I wanted to go over. This is a problem. Let's see here. Let me just show you guys this. This is the big problem. We are reaching, no, I don't want to reach up to 100K more users now. Oh, I bet you want me to pay for it. I never do that. We are reaching the limit of what we can pay for. And this is the debt in the United States. And I don't know if you can see this chart good. Let me see here. Yeah, here's a little better. And it's probably hard to see, but it's just drastically going up. And now we pay more in interest on the debt than we do in how much we spend on military. So this isn't sustainable. There's going to be a problem. And really no one's dealing with this. We've always just kind of ignored it, kicked the can down the road, but we're reaching the limit of being able to do that. And both Republicans and Democrats haven't been able to deal with it. Ever since even the 80s, they saw the problem was going to happen eventually. So they had things like the debt ceiling. But with the debt ceiling, all they would do every year, the Congress, we have a debt ceiling. We won't spend more than this. This is a debt ceiling. And they campaigned on that, showing, oh, we're tough with the deficit. But then they always raised the debt ceiling, right? So what difference does it make? It'd be like you have an imaginary budget. I won't spend more than $2,000 a month. And then when you reach 2,000, well, I'll just raise my limit. So it doesn't mean anything. It's kind of stupid. So that is a big problem. And there's going to be interesting ways to deal with that. All right, somewhere in the tariff stuff, and it really impacts a lot of the iPhones and stuff. Donald Trump. I have long ago informed Tim Cook of Apple that I expect that their iPhones will be sold in the United States of America. The iPhones that are sold in the United States will be manufactured and built in the United States, not India or any place else. And the issue here is because Trump put all the tariffs on China, but not these other countries so much. So then Apple's like, well, we'll just move it to like India or Vietnam. And the goal of the tariffs was to, so they build the iPhones or manufacturing back in the United States. And if that is not the case, a tariff of at least 25% must be paid by Apple to the U.S. Then he always says, thank you for your attention to this matter. I don't know why. He's got this weird phrase he just says now. Well, is it just for iPhones, Trump? I mean, I don't know. I like Trump, but sometimes he gets kind of spurgy. You need to do it for all manufacturing if you're going to do it, just not for iPhones. And then you have to figure out, because here's the crux of the matter. They don't make iPhones in the United States because if they had to pay American workers, they're saying an iPhone would cost like $5,000. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they're saying. So you have to be straight with American people that, hey, it's going to be some pain. Things are going to be more expensive, but the good news is we're going to get the jobs back here in the United States. And that means the people that work at these places, they'll pay taxes. It's going to help our economy, help us reduce the deficit. We need to do this. And we need to do this even for our national security. But yeah, things will be more expensive. They have to be, right? And I'm not like a big corporation fan, but it's just the case. If your costs increase, you need to pass that on. Otherwise, you're not going to make the same margins or profit. So you have to increase your price. It's just that simple, right? And so I don't, it's kind of schizophrenic because he's picking on Apple, but there's all sorts of other manufacturers. And meanwhile, Donald Trump, though, and JD Vance and Vivek, you remember, they're okay with having all these H-1B visa people coming over, taking programmer jobs. What's up with that, dog? Or sending jobs overseas for programmers or call centers. That should be tariff too. So it's kind of a weird shotgun approach he's doing. And it's just not a lot of clarity here. And obviously Trump should have thought, I would have hoped that if he puts a big tariff on China, but not other countries, companies like Apple will just send the manufacturing of those other countries in before the United States. And it's not because they hate America, it's because the costs are more expensive. Because we pay people more, we have health protection. In China, they don't care. If you die on the job, too bad. It's like ants. They just get another one in. But we tend to value people more and we care about the environment more, which are good things, but that makes everything more expensive. All right, let's see here. So this whole tariff thing is going to be an interesting thing with Trump's presidency, see how much he's able to keep that going. I'm proud to announce that after much consideration and negotiation, U.S. Steel will remain in America and keep its headquarters in the great city of Pittsburgh. For many years, the name United States Steel was synonymous with greatness, and now it will be again. So that is good. And again, this is for the national security, just being able to have steel development here. So I'm okay. I'm okay with what Trump is doing here. I think this is a necessary thing to do. But I think he needs to, I wish he'd explain this a little better, his vision to the American people, what he really wants to do with tariffs. Is this a long-term thing, or is this just a negotiating ploy, or what's happening here? All right. And the Harvard's been in the spotlight a lot with Trump. One, because of they've allowed criticism of Israel, but now also Trump wants Harvard to focus on American students, not all these Chinese. And China says Trump Harvard ban will tarnish U.S. image as student caught in the crosshairs. Well, I think we should have mostly American universities should focus on American students. Recruiting international students is the main way to attract top talent. After this road is cut off, will Harvard still be the same Harvard? They seem to think talented Americans don't exist. So there's sort of a whole debate going on with higher education and the Ivy League schools. I'm a nationalist. I think we should focus on our people. So there's going to be definite pushback on that. Let's see here. I'm going to do a few super chats right now. MPs, $5. A big fan. Thank you. MP, $40. Another show. Well, 45. And then Somberg, number 9, $11.11. You know, do you guys ever see 1111? I see that a lot. This lady I know in Canada, that's a medical doctor, once told me that. If you see that, it's supposed to be symbolic. Now I see it all the time. It's really weird. Somberg, I have been, so we hit the $50 goal. So yeah, Monday, the Ramsey Paul show will be on. We're going to have the Ramsey Paul show on Monday. I have been bullied and harassed by boomers who classified me as likely to commit violence, endless lectures, browbeating, and humiliation ritual I'll never forget. Maybe they were right. Maybe. And then $5 from Somberg. Like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithms. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Yes, like and subscribe. That does help with the algorithm. Thank you for your attention. I appreciate that. Okay. Wow. We made the goal already. So, but hey, send more in. We'll make another goal. Get up to 100. I'll do the Tuesday show too. So that'd be cool. So thank you very much. Let me just refresh a power chat live. I just want to make sure I got everything. Sometimes they come in a little late there. All right, let's get back into the news and stuff that is happening here. All right, it's been a rough time for like the I don't mean to pick on the groypers, but you know, if you really got to think about this, if you're really about white identity and America first and all that type of stuff, do you really want your hero to be a mentally ill black guy? I just don't know. You might want to rethink that. But oh, he's so famous, and he does. At least he names them, Ramsey Paul. What have you done? He names them, right? You remember that? Well, now he's done naming them. Yay! I'm done with anti-Semitism. Didn't he go through this arc before? He's bipolar. The guy, I think, is schizophrenic or bipolar. And I'm not joking. I know that term is thrown around kind of loosely, but this guy's all over. I think he's been through this arc before. And then he put his Heil Hitler video out. And now he's doing his, oh, I'm sorry. Because I guess that song was kind of catchy, but it got banned everywhere. And now he says, I'm done with anti-Semitism. I love all people. God forgive me for the pain I've caused. So this is now, but next week he'll probably be dressing up like a Nazi. I don't know. I just don't know how to keep someone like that, take someone like that serious. That's the point I have. I mean, it's okay to look at someone as kind of a clown, and that's what he is, right? And I don't mean this as disrespectful to Kanye, but he's not like a Jared Taylor or a deep thinker. He's a clown. He just does funny things, and it's funny. And he makes songs that rhyme, and he's a clown. You know, sometimes he does, things that gets certain groups upset. Hey, I laugh too. But I don't really think that you should raise him as some intellectual leader and he's the guy we're going to support for president. Remember that? And I'm like, well, this guy seems a little off to me, guys. He's wearing a Get mask and saying how much he loves a certain guy from 100 years ago. It seems kind of weird. Oh, you're a cock. You don't understand what he's doing. Well, he's turned on you. He's forsaken you. So I don't know. But then he'll be based again in another week. He'll name him in another week. So and then he'll go apologize. It gets a little tiresome. It's kind of funny in a way, but that's the way it is. All right. Russia. Let's talk about that because things are actually heating up here. Ukraine seems to be losing now at a faster rate than they were. Let me just show you this here. And this is the war in Ukraine will be over by July. And this comes from the investment bank JP Morgan. So I think this is why this is significant. This is JP Morgan is obviously, they're part of the establishment. They're huge. They're part connected. If you believe in the deep state, they're all in that. So if they're saying this, that it's just not some Russian trolls. This is the establishment guys are saying that'll be wrapped up by July. I don't know if it will. I'm a little more skeptical that it will. With Europe running out of weapons, that's true. Europe, I don't know why they talk shit. They really talk tough, but they're very weak and they're led by women. And presumably, and Starmer, I don't know which way he swings. But they're not really led by people like Orban or men that have a little masculinity towards them. They're Macron, who's just saying. Starmer, there's been rumors about then you have these girl bosses and they like to act like they're tough or like they're in some Star Trek universe, but they don't have anything to back it up. They don't have any armies or weapons. Ukraine is running out of fighters. They are. The U.S. is running out of patience, and transatlantic unity is fraying. President Zelensky will likely be forced to negotiate a settlement with Russia that would freeze the fighting, but fall short of a full peace deal. Well, I disagree with this a little bit. Well, Zelensky's been hard line. He's not going to compromise at all. And Russia's pretty hard line too. So I think it's going to be decided on the battlefield. Is when there is a settlement, it will be when Zelensky is executed or he flees to Tel Aviv and there's a new leader. But it's going to be decided on the battlefield. And Russia has no interest anymore in a half-assed deal. They want to solve the situation. And Russia is playing hardball. They're like, okay, we get the Donbass and Crimea. That's minimum. That's minimum where we're starting from. And if you dink around and bitch about it and act up, then we're going to ask for more provinces, right? And we'll take them. And what are you going to do about it? Bitch and cry? You can't stop us. So that's where we are there. This guy is saying there's a 50% chance that a Georgian scenario will play out. Ukraine will not have a reliable security guarantees after the war, will remain unstable, and eventually, after one or two changes of power, will end up in Russia's sphere of influence. And yeah, this is so. There's a lot of people in Russia that believe the Ukraine, they called it, is really part of Russia, and it needs to be. It's like under the old Soviet Union, kind of like Belarus is. And there's that's not what like Putin's asking for now, but that is a feeling. And again, it was interesting because this came from JP Morgan. So this was a interesting thing that showing the nature of the war is not going good. Because you remember the media, our lovely media, lied to us. Surprise, surprise. Russia's losing. They don't have any weapons. Putin has cancer. Turns out Biden had cancer. And we're losing. All right. And then here's some more. This is, we need radio liberty. We need tanks of a free Europe. We need the missiles of a free Europe. We need the drones of a free Europe. We need to support the Ukrainian now, which now with huge losses is in a very difficult situation. So even, the pro-Ukrainian people are admitting that it's a dire situation. That is it. And another thing showing this, and again, this isn't Russian sources. This is people that are anti-Russian. And here's another article. And again, this is mainstream publication. Ukraine faces a growing risk of outright military collapse if no deal is struck. And so, well, if they're facing a collapse, why would Russia want to do a deal, right? Why do a deal? It's like you're playing chess and you're winning, and then your opponent says, "Hey, you want to take a draw?" And you're like, "Why would I want to do that? I'm winning." And so that's the problem they have right now. So I think we should walk away from this, but we will see what is happening here. All right. Let's see here. All right. Take a little bit of race stuff happen here. This has to do with the DEI. Black women lost 38,000 jobs in April, the most of any group. Economists say this share rise is tied to the anti-DEI agenda. Black women are sadly paying the price. This is more than just policy, it's harm. No, see, anti-DEI doesn't mean they're not going to hire blacks. It just means you hire the most qualified people. And so what this is saying is most black women were not qualified in the first place, which if you dealt with this situation is no surprise. And so it's kind of interesting how they're admitting DEI was mostly black women. And that's a black guy saying that. And he's for DEI, but he's admitting that. So, because a lot of times we hear, oh, DEI was mostly about white women. Well, not according to this guy. Not according to this guy. Now, another thing that happened this week, and this was huge. The Overton window has moved so much. Let me just see here. Yeah. Years ago, I remember like the ADL and SPLC, they were trying to get you banned if you said the phrase white genocide. That's a white supremacist conspiracy theory. Remember that? Now that's mainstream. Trump's talking about it. And this is from the official White House thing here. Let's just take a look at this. And I think talk about the Overton window being moved. So this is from the President of the United States. So he showed this. He had the President of South Africa, and they showed the racial hatred they're ginning up against white people down there. And again, according to the ADL SPLC's theory, if people that criticize Israel are responsible for that guy that shot 2 Jews at the embassy, then the same logic, they're responsible for this hatred.
There's nothing you can do. There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land. We require no permission from you, from the president, from no one. We don't care. We can do whatever you want to do. Who are you to tell us whether we can occupy land or not? We are going to occupy land. Yes. South African occupy land. That's who we are.
Honorable member,
I want to do. You can withdraw my membership from this useless parliament.
Honorable. Yes, honorable member.
Must never.
By the way, that scene there looked like out of that scene of The Birth of the Nation during Reconstruction where blacks were in the State House. Oh, that's racist. I mean, it looks like a racist parody, but yeah, it's.
Be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing, because the killing is part of a revolutionary act. Shoot to kill. Yamasa. Kill the poor, the farmer.
You know, if you ever want to know racial realities and how different races are, just look at this. I mean, and it goes across countries.
the poor, the farmer. Brr, pa, pa, brr,
So they're doing their little chant, I guess, tribal dance about killing whites.
pa, pa. To kill your master. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer. The mayor of DA in PE is a white man. So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness.
And see that's basically the language that SPLC and the ADL has used a long time. Eliminate whiteness.
Shoot to kill Yamasa. Kill the poor, the farm.
See, I don't. And then the black fist and saying kill the white man. They're doing their little funky dance. I'm not going to watch all this, but this was posted by the White House. And he forced the president of South Africa to say, yeah, this is what you guys are doing, and a proof of prosecution and of the white genocide. That groups, again, like the SPLC and ADL, they advocate that. If they could, they would like us all dead. And I think that is pretty crazy. So that is good. And hey, I got another super chat. Here is Tuesday show money, $55, Somberg. Monday and Tuesday, the Ramsey Paul show is going. I can't make you do this, but please make an AI auto-tune rap song about the spirit of the wolf that exists just beneath the surface of every white man. Yeah, I mean, AI auto-tune. I will, thank you. I will actually look that up. I think you asked that of Z-Man, and I'm not a great rapper, but maybe with AI auto. Well, actually, I did a pretty good rap years ago. It's pretty good, I would have to say. So I will look at that. But thank you. So yeah, thank you. We got Monday and Tuesday Ramsey Paul show. So thank you on that. All right. So anyway, thank God that Trump was able to show that issue with South Africa. And we have the problem here. And this is why, they always say black women are the most educated women demographic in America. I'm like, it doesn't mean anything. It's all fake, right? And let me just show you this as an example. Here's this girl. She graduated from high school with honors, but she can't read or write. Now she's suing. So this black girl, pretty much in these urban high schools, if you don't stab the teacher, you're going to graduate with honors. That's how low the bar is. So she graduated with honors and she can't read or write. I'm not surprised. And so whenever they say, oh, black women are the most educated. Well, okay, they have a diploma, they can't read. No, I don't, who cares? I could give a dog a diploma. What does that mean? I give a goat, I'll give a monkey a diploma. Look at the most educated. They all have diplomas and they're waving them and pooping on them, eating them. What does it mean? So that it's a cargo cult mentality. Yeah, diplomas used to have value because it was difficult to get one. But if you just pass them out to everyone just because you show up, it has no meaning, right? I could throw a bunch of diplomas in the monkey cage in, let's say, Little Rock, I think, has a zoo. We'll throw up diplomas in the monkey cage, and then we can say, hey, these monkeys in the monkey cage are the most intelligent species because they all have diplomas. What does that mean? It's just ridiculous. But so whenever you hear that, right, black educated are the most educated. Well, they can't read or write. So yeah, at least this lady can't. So this is where we are then. It's pretty crazy. So that is the situation. All right. I think we're about wrapped up. It was a good show today. Let me just go through and make sure I got everything. And so we're going to have the Ramsey Paul show on Monday and Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have we're going to talk about looking back at COVID with Z-Man. That's going to be a great show. And then Thursday, I should be doing the Daylight Dispatch with Sasha. And then Friday, we'll do the weekly roundup. So it's going to be a fun week. Monday, a lot of you are off, but I'll do the show Monday. So hopefully a lot of you guys can check the show live. I know a lot of you work during the day, but yeah, you'll be able to be here and check it live. So I'm looking forward to that. Guys, thank you so much for being here. God bless you. And I hope you had a great week. And I look forward to next week. A lot of content, a lot of stuff to go over. Thank you so much. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.